Looks pretty quiet.
Wes might have left town by now.
Well, maybe. If I were Wes, I'd hide him somewhere until things cooled off.
Only one way to find out.
A moment of silence falls across Heartland Ranch as a single horse trailer rolls in after dark, carrying a secret that could reopen old wounds. In Season 19, Episode 10, titled Forgiveness, every choice carries weight, every memory feels louder, and every person at the ranch is forced to face something they have been trying to hide. This episode does not just ask for forgiveness, it demands it. Forgiveness is not easy at Heartland, and Episode 10 leans into that truth from the very first moment. As the sun rises over the ranch, everything looks calm on the outside, but beneath the surface there is tension that everyone is trying to ignore. Amy steps out of the barn with a quiet focus, carrying the emotional weight of the past few weeks. She knows something is coming, something that will test her patience, her strength, and her ability to let go of pain she thought she had already put behind her. The arrival of a horse trailer in the night has shaken her more than she wants to admit, because things do not come to Heartland without a reason, and this one feels personal. The trailer's presence lingers like a question no one wants to answer, hinting that Episode 10 will not just show conflict, but force the characters to confront the parts of themselves they usually avoid around the ranch. Daily life continues as if nothing is wrong, but the energy is different. Jack watches the morning chores from a distance, noticing the quiet gaps in conversations, the way everyone seems to be waiting for something to happen. Lisa senses it too, feeling that the day is building toward a turning point. Even the horses react differently, unsettled by the tension that hangs in the air. The word forgiveness floats through the episode like a shadow, reminding the audience that healing comes with honesty, and honesty often stings before it soothes. Heartland has always been a place where broken things are fixed, where second chances are real, and where people learn to move forward, even when it hurts. But Episode 10 asks a deeper question. What if forgiveness is the only way out, and yet feels impossible to give? As Amy goes about her morning routine, she tries to stay busy, hoping work will steady her emotions. But small reminders keep pulling her back to the trailer and what it might mean. A familiar saddle, a horse reacting with recognition, a quiet moment in the barn where she pauses longer than usual. The audience can feel that she is wrestling with something unresolved, something that has followed her into this episode. And while she tries to hide it, her silence speaks louder than words. Episode 10 sets the stage for an emotional journey, one that pulls every character toward a moment where truth cannot be avoided. Forgiveness is coming, but no one at Heartland is ready for how deeply it will cut or how much it will change. Amy feels the weight of the day long before she understands why. Something settles over her like a quiet storm, an invisible pressure she cannot shake. As she leads Spartan out of the barn, she tries to ground herself in the familiar rhythm of brushing his coat and checking his hooves, but even he senses her unease. He nudges her gently, as if reminding her that whatever is coming, she has faced hard things before. Still, her mind keeps returning to the trailer that arrived in silence, carrying a presence she has been avoiding for years. She does not know exactly what waits behind its doors, but her heart reacts as if it already remembers. Forgiveness is a heavy word, and Amy knows that some mistakes do not fade with time. Some simply wait for the right moment to return. She pauses outside the arena, looking across the ranch as if searching for an answer in the distance. The wind carries the smell of hay and dust, the ordinary sense of her everyday life, yet today they feel different. The air seems tighter, like the ranch itself is holding its breath. Amy takes a slow step toward the trailer, not ready to open it, but unable to walk away from it either. Memories begin to surface, scattered and sharp, reminding her of promises once made and pain left unresolved. She has always been the one who helps others heal, the one who brings calm to frightened horses and comfort to troubled riders. But today she is the one who feels unsteady. Caught between the past she cannot change and the future she is not sure she is ready to face. Dade as she turns back toward the barn. Jack approaches her with a steady voice and gentle eyes. He does not ask questions, because he already knows that sometimes the hardest battles cannot be spoken yet. He simply stands beside her, letting the silence work the way it always does between them. But even his presence cannot soften the tension building inside her. She feels torn between wanting to protect herself and wanting to finally confront the truth behind the trailer. A truth she once walked away from. A truth she never expected to return to Heartland. She tells herself that she is strong, that she has learned from every challenge life has thrown at her, but forgiveness demands more than strength. It asks for understanding, for courage, and for openness she is not sure she still has. Later, when she enters the barn alone, the quiet hits her harder than she expects. Every shadow feels deeper, every sound echoing a little longer. Amy closes her eyes and breathes, trying to steady the emotions rising inside her. The horses shift in their stalls, restless but alert, sensing her struggle. And for the first time that day, she whispers to herself the truth she has been trying not to face. The trailer has brought a piece of her past back to her doorstep, and this time she cannot run from it. Episode 10 pulls Amy into a moment that tests her heart more than her skills, asking whether forgiveness is something she can give, or something she still has to learn. The tension around the ranch does not stop with Amy. Jack feels it too, though he carries it in a quieter way. He walks through the morning chores with a steady hand, but inside he is wrestling with a different sort of conflict. Jack has spent his life guiding others, offering calm when everything feels uncertain, yet today he finds himself questioning whether he has been truly listening to the people who matter most. Lisa notices the shift in him before he even speaks a word. She watches him tighten a gate latch that does not need tightening, checks a fence line he checked yesterday, and lingers in silence longer than usual. For a man who has seen decades of storms pass through Heartland, this one feels strangely personal. Lisa approaches him gently, not with pressure but with curiosity. She has always understood that Jack's silence is not a wall, but a pause. Still, this pause feels longer, heavier. She asks him if everything is all right, and he offers the kind of answer that avoids more than it reveals. But Lisa, with her patient heart, recognizes that something deeper is stirring in him. Their recent miscommunication has grown into a space neither of them wanted, a small distance that now feels too wide. Forgiveness plays a role here as well, though neither of them has said the word out loud. They both know that love carries responsibilities, and one of those is recognizing when pride has slipped into a conversation without being invited. Later, as Jack brushes one of the older horses in the back paddock, he lets the truth rise to the surface. He is not angry at Lisa, nor at anyone else. He is frustrated with himself. He reflects on choices he made in the past few episodes, times he pushed too hard, moments he spoke when he should have listened. The ranch has always been his anchor, but even anchors can shift when the waters grow rough. Jack realizes that holding on to past mistakes helps no one, especially the people he loves. The idea of forgiveness begins to settle inside him, not as something he needs from others, but as something he must learn to give himself. Lisa finds him again just before noon, the sun casting long shadows behind the barn. She stands with her hands folded, waiting for him to look up. When he finally does, she sees the softness return to his eyes, the part of him that has weathered many storms but still chooses connection over distance. Their conversation is simple, but meaningful. They acknowledge the tension without blaming one another, letting honesty replace the silence that had grown between them. Lisa's voice carries warmth, and Jack's response carries truth. It is not dramatic or loud. It is quiet, real, and exactly what both of them needed. In this episode, forgiveness is not just Amy's battle. It threads through Jack and Lisa's story as a reminder that even strong relationships can falter, and even the most grounded hearts need gentle repair. Their subplot brings emotional depth to the episode, showing that love at any age requires patience, humility, and the courage to admit when the heart needs healing. By the time they walk back toward the house together, the distance between them has softened, replaced by understanding and the promise of trying again. Their journey mirrors the larger theme of the episode, proving that forgiveness, when given freely, has the power to restore what once felt lost. Tim wakes with the same uneasy feeling that seems to be spreading across the ranch. though he is far less willing to admit it. He steps out of his truck with determination, forcing himself into the day as if sheer effort can keep old emotions from breaking through. Tim has always tried to convince the world that he is unshakable, but episode 10 reveals the cracks beneath that tough surface. The arrival of the mysterious trailer bothers him more than he lets on. Not because he knows what is inside, but because it reminds him how little control he actually has over the people he cares about. Throughout the morning, Tim tries to distract himself by burying his energy in work. He double-checks equipment, offers instructions no one asked for, and snaps a little too quickly when something goes wrong. His impatience does not come from anger, but from fear, the fear of being left out, of not being needed, or worse, of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. Tim has a long history of letting his pride speak louder than his heart, and this episode pushes him to confront that pattern. Even Caleb notices the shift, giving him a puzzled look when Tim rejects help he clearly needs. Tim insists he is fine, but his movements reveal restlessness and a storm brewing inside him. Later, he finds himself standing alone near the round pen, staring at the ground as if the dust can give him answers. He thinks about the times he tried to rebuild relationships only to make mistakes that pushed people away. He remembers promises he broke, apologies he rushed, and moments when forgiveness came slower than he expected. The theme of the episode begins to press on him more than anyone else. Tim realizes that forgiveness is not something he can force out of others. It is something he must earn, and earning it requires quiet honesty, not loud frustration. He knows he has misjudged situations before, especially when it comes to Amy. He wants to support her now, but he does not know if approaching her will help or make things harder. For once, he hesitates. That hesitation becomes a moment of truth for him. Instead of giving orders, Tim walks to the barn and pauses at the doorway. He watches Amy from a distance, noticing the heaviness in her posture, the way she moves as if holding something delicate inside her. He takes a breath, considers turning around, but chooses not to. This time, he speaks gently, without pushing, without assuming. He tells her he is around if she needs anything. Nothing more. The simplicity of his words feels almost unfamiliar, yet it carries more care than any lecture he could give. Amy does not respond right away, but her eyes soften, showing that his restraint means more than he realizes. Tim leaves the barn with a new awareness settling into him. Forgiveness is not just something he hopes to receive one day. It is something he must learn to practice, especially toward himself. His journey in this episode reveals a quieter side of him, a man who wants to do better but is still learning how. This subtle shift adds emotional depth to the story, reminding the audience that growth does not always come from dramatic moments. Sometimes it comes from choosing patience over pride, understanding over control, and silence over the need to be right. Tim's struggle becomes a powerful thread in episode 10, showing that even the toughest hearts can soften when faced with the truth they can no longer outrun. Katie begins the day with a knot in her stomach, hoping no one notices the tension she carries. She has been avoiding Logan since their disagreement, not because she is angry, but because she is embarrassed by how quickly things got out of control. Logan, meanwhile, moves through the day with a quiet frustration of his own, replaying their last conversation and wishing he had chosen different words. The wrench is big, yet somehow they keep crossing paths at the worst moments, each glance turning into an awkward silence that neither knows how to break. Episode 10 centers heavily on forgiveness, and for these two, it is not a large dramatic conflict but a small emotional bruise that refuses to fade. Katie tries to stay busy helping in the barn, stacking brushes and refilling water buckets, but her mind drifts back to Logan every few minutes. She thinks about how their friendship has grown over the years, how they rely on each other even when they pretend not to. She remembers the trust they built, and how one careless moment created a distance she hates. The more she thinks about it, the more she realizes the argument was never really about the words they said. It was about feeling misunderstood, feeling unheard. Katie has always been strong-willed, yet now she feels unsure, caught between wanting to apologize and fearing that Logan no longer cares the way he did before. Logan sits on the fence near the training ring, watching the horses move as he tries to settle his thoughts. He is used to dealing with problems alone, used to keeping his guard up, but Katie has always been different. She reached him in a way few people ever did, and the idea of losing that connection hits him harder than he expected. He knows he could fix things with a simple conversation, but the words feel heavy in his mouth. He does not want to make things worse. He does not want to hurt her again. And yet, he cannot shake the feeling that avoiding each other is slowly tearing a hole in their friendship. The theme of forgiveness settles in this storyline quietly, like a whisper reminding him that pride is a poor companion when the heart is uncertain. Their turning point comes unexpectedly. Katie drops a grooming brush in the barn aisle, and Logan, passing by, bends down to pick it up before she can. Their hands almost touch, and for a moment both freeze. There is no anger in their eyes, only hesitation mixed with the longing to fix what has been broken. Logan finally speaks, his voice softer than usual. He tells her he never meant to make her feel small or dismissed. Katie's response is shaky but honest as she admits she overreacted, not because of the argument itself, but because she thought she mattered less to him than she actually does. That simple line changes everything. The wall between them begins to crumble. Their conversation grows easier as they walk outside, letting the open air help the tension drift away. They talk about misunderstanding, about the fear of losing someone important, and about how forgiveness does not always come from grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from listening, from caring enough to return even when the moment feels difficult. By the time they reach the fence line, a quiet smile settles between them, and the ranch feels a little warmer for it. Katie and Logan's storyline in this episode shows that forgiveness is not just for adults dealing with years of history. It is for young hearts learning how to communicate, trust, and build bonds that last. Their journey adds a fresh emotional layer to episode 10, reminding viewers that growth happens at every age and that forgiveness can be the first step towards something stronger than the conflict that came before. The ranch shifts into a strange stillness as the day moves on, the kind of quiet that feels heavy rather than peaceful. Everyone senses something building, a moment waiting to break open. That moment arrives when Amy finally approaches the mysterious trailer park near the far fence. She stands before it with her hands curled at her sides, her breath tight, as if the truth hiding behind the doors is something she has spent years preparing to face and years trying to avoid. The tension in episode 10 reaches its highest point here, not through loud arguments or dramatic shouts, but through the weight of unspoken history pressing back into the present. Before Amy opens the trailer, the camera lingers on a small object resting on the ground near the hitch, a sealed letter. It carries no name on the outside, only a single smudge of dirt and a fold line that suggests it has been handled many times before. Though the audience does not know what it contains, the letter becomes a symbol of the episode's theme. It represents unfinished conversations, apologies never spoken, and the courage required to confront what we wish would disappear. This letter does not belong to Heartland in the traditional story, but in this first look video, it becomes a visual tool to deepen the emotional stakes and invite speculation about who brought it and why. As Amy reaches for the trailer latch, the scene cuts to Jack watching from a distance. He stands still, hands on his hips, not ready to intervene but unable to walk away. He knows better than anyone that forgiveness is complicated, and that facing the past often brings more pain before it brings peace. Lisa joins him quietly, recognizing his concern before he even speaks. They share a brief exchange with their eyes, and understanding that whatever happens next may shift the entire tone of the ranch for the rest of the season. This moment ties their subplot back into Amy's journey, weaving the emotional threads of the episode into a single point of impact. Inside the barn, the horses react long before anyone else does. Spartan tosses his head, pacing in his stall with an alertness that suggests he recognizes something connected to Amy's past. Other horses shift nervously, their hooves scraping and tails flicking, creating an atmosphere of tension that fills the scene with anticipation. It reminds viewers that Heartland is not just about people, but about the deep connection between humans and animals. The horses feel what the characters do not say, and their unease heightens the conflict in a way words cannot. The conflict reaches its peak when Amy finally makes her choice. She lets her hand slide off the latch and steps back instead of forward. The decision surprises even her. She is not avoiding the truth, but acknowledging that she cannot face it alone. She turns toward the barn, her expression a mixture of fear and determination, revealing that forgiveness is not a moment but a process. She needs support, clarity, and maybe even answers that the trailer alone cannot give. As she walks away, the tension shifts again, not resolved but redirected, leaving the audience with a sense that the real confrontation is still coming. It is a powerful storytelling choice, allowing the conflict to deepen without revealing the final outcome. This episode's conflict point is not defined by a single explosion of drama. Instead, it grows through quiet choices, emotional hesitation, and the unseen weight of the past returning. It shows that forgiveness often begins in the moments when we step back, breathe, and decide whether we are ready to face the truth at all. Episode 10 uses this moment to anchor the entire emotional arc of the story, proving that sometimes the most powerful confrontations happen in silence, with the heart fighting a battle the world cannot see. As the sun begins to set over Heartland Ranch, the shadows stretch long across the ground, softening the tension but not erasing it. The day has been full of quiet battles for everyone, yet nothing feels resolved. Amy walks slowly toward the paddock, her steps measured, her thoughts tangled. The trailer remains unopened behind her, a silent reminder that forgiveness cannot be rushed and truth cannot be pushed aside forever. The ranch glows under the fading light, turning every fence post and rooftop golden, as if the world is offering a gentle moment before the next emotional wave arrives. This calm, however, carries a question that lingers in the air. Who will choose forgiveness, and who will find it too hard to give? Jack and Lisa stand on the porch together, looking out across the yard with a soft understanding between them. Their earlier conversation brought them closer, but the night carries its own uncertainty. Jack knows Amy will need support, yet he also knows she must make her own decisions. Lisa reads the worry in his posture and places a hand on his arm, reminding him that love sometimes means stepping back just far enough to let someone find their own strength. Their bond, tested earlier, now serves as a quiet anchor in the episode, showing viewers that relationships grow through moments of honesty, not just joy. Tim watches from a distance as Amy sits beside Spartan's stall. The lights in the barn glow warm around her, outlining her in a comforting haze. He wants to go to her, but he remembers the restraint he practiced earlier and the respect it earned. Instead of pushing in, he waits, silently offering space if she needs him. Tim may be rough around the edges, but this moment shows how much he has changed. He is learning to listen instead of react, and that growth ties his story beautifully into the episode's central theme. Forgiveness is not just something Amy must give. It is something each character is learning to understand in their own way. Meanwhile, Katie and Logan sit quietly on the fence line, letting the cool evening breeze settle the last of their tension. Their earlier conversation brought relief, but also a deeper awareness of how important they are to each other. They do not say much now. They do not have to. Their silence is comfortable, filled with the unspoken promise to communicate better, trust more, and forgive quickly before small misunderstandings grow into something larger. Their young storyline adds hope to the episode, showing that forgiveness can be simple when pride does not stand in the way. The final shots of this first look video return to the letter resting near the trailer hitch. The wind catches its edge, causing it to flutter just enough to hint at the message trapped inside. The camera does not reveal the name, the contents, or the person who wrote it. Instead, it focuses on the mystery, inviting the audience to wonder how this letter ties into Amy's past and what role it will play in the next part of her journey. The unanswered question becomes the emotional hook for episode 10. Someone at Heartland is waiting to be forgiven, but the story has not yet revealed who is ready to forgive. As the screen fades toward darkness, the final narration reminds viewers that forgiveness is not a single act. It is a choice made again and again, in moments of fear, moments of honesty, and moments when the heart aches for resolution. Heartland Season 19 Episode 10 promises a powerful blend of emotion, truth, and healing, asking every character and every viewer to consider the courage it takes to let the past go. with the ranch draped in twilight and unanswered questions lingering in the air. The episode leaves one powerful message behind. Tomorrow may bring closure, but tonight belongs to the courage of facing the truth.